Thank you for joining Audi's 5th annual Audi Innovation Series. The Audi Innovation Series is a Canadian speaker series. It highlights topics in innovation and creativity, and we focus on areas like sport, literature, the arts, and of course, design. Similar to last year, the 2021 Audi Innovation Series has taken on a digital format, but the intent is the same, and that is to continue our conversation on innovation and progress, and of course, still following the safety protocols due to the pandemic. Today, we are privileged to host Jared Leto, Academy Award-winning actor, musician, director, business person, and philanthropist. Recognized for his unique approach to his performances, cementing him among Hollywood's leaders in creativity and innovation. Today's discussion will be moderated by Mr. Dwight Drummond, CBC Toronto news anchor. He brings a balance of insightfulness and experience, and we are so grateful to have him with us this year, his 5th year in a row. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Dwight Drummond. Enjoy.
Jared, first of all, really appreciate you doing this, taking part in the Audi Innovation Series. Should be a nice conversation, man. I want to start at the beginning. Where did the interest and passion for acting in the arts come from in this kid from Louisiana? Why did you choose to pursue this career? Was there arts in the family, in the background somehow?
It's a great question, and thanks so much for having me, Dwight. I appreciate it. It's strange to be a part of something that's it has the word innovator in it, because when I was growing up, creativity and the arts were really just a normal part of life. I grew up around artists, around sculptors, around performance artists, around people that I know now when I look back on it were rule breakers. And I feel really fortunate to have had that exposure via my mother and her friends. It was the 70s and, the day and the age of the hippie. And that was just a really important time in my life. So it exposed me to a lot, exposed me to the fact that creativity could be a viable pursuit in life. And I think innovation and creativity pretty much go hand in hand.
Did that early passion, is that where it came from, the real passion you have, your early roles for visual arts from your future projects? So how did those early years then inform your future projects? What did you learn from them, from the people that were around you and your mom growing up?
Well, I learned a lot. I think that the goal for most of the people that I saw around, and my mother and the other creative people that I saw, it wasn't about making money. It wasn't about status. It wasn't about status. It was about creative fulfillment. It was about the process, the pursuit, and that certainly informed a huge part of my life, and I'm grateful for it. I mean, even today, I think when I take on a role, for me, it's like a piece of sculpture. It's like sitting down in front of the easel. And I don't mean that in a pretentious way. I mean it in a practical way. There's a process there that's, really exciting to me, really creative, really compelling.
With that approach then, early, did you picture yourself then having the kind of accomplishments and the career you ended up having in Hollywood?
No, not at all. No.
Right, because you had commercials.
I've had as much fear and dealt with as much failure as, I don't want to say as much as anybody else, but I certainly have my fair share. And I think that's just a part of the process. Those are both pretty dirty words most of the time, but they're also great fuel. And, there's a blessing in fear. There's a blessing in failure. And I've certainly been on both ends of those things.
The breadth of your career has been incredible. How much do you attribute the decades of success to maybe some risk-taking in your career?
Well, it's pretty clear that without the risk, there's very little reward. And most of the kind of really valuable experiences in my life they've been attached to quite a bit of risk. And even in failure, I think that, like, I just finished a project, and, I consider it very risky in terms of, where we went with that project. And, but you have the process on one hand and the result on the other. And even in failure, I don't think I'll ever regret taking the risk because of what was learned. And it's exciting. It's really, I find it pretty fascinating to live in that space and to be on the edge.
The Audi Innovation Series is about building a conversation around creativity and innovation, something that you talk about. Can you speak a little bit about how you define elements like creativity and innovation, and how that shows up in your work?
How do I define creativity and innovation? I think it has a lot to do with intention. And, I think all of us have a voice inside of us. Some of us have voices, but I certainly have a voice inside of me that it gives me a sense of balance, and it's a bit of a guidepost. So that creative intuition, it's pretty loud in me because I listen to it often. So I think if you feed that voice, it probably is a really good thing. And of course, there are other voices trying to be heard, like we talked about, fear and failure. So it's about, I guess, what you listen to and the action that follows. Maybe, I don't know if that's too esoteric, but and I'm not saying that I hear too many voices, but I have my days, but there's I think in the same way, I just played a character, for example, that he was a pigeon fancier. Okay. He loved pigeons. And I learned a lot about pigeons because one of the things you do when you take on a role is you do research. But pigeons, I thought of pigeons, having spent a lot of time in New York. I don't mean any disrespect to the pigeons, but basically, rats with wings.
They call them rats in the air. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's it. But, pigeons are quite remarkable. You can let them go in Portugal and they will fly all the way home to Great Britain. All right. And they have these, the people that are passionate about raising pigeons and racing pigeons. They're called pigeon fanciers. So like the pigeon who can find its way home, I think all of us has inside of us a compass. And, for some people, it's a creative compass. For some people, it might be an innovator's compass. It could be a business compass. It could be a moral compass. But we have this compass, and I tend to let that guide me and help that propel me in the creative choices that I make. That's my point.
And you might have answered our next question. In addition to being an actor, you're also a talented musician, you're a director, you're also a business leader. And are there elements of your personality then, or any personal philosophies, which I think you just said, does this show up across all areas of your work, no matter what you're doing?
I think so. I mean, I think what I'm talking about as well is tied to authenticity and being yourself. So I think so. I mean, I've always been pretty ambitious when it comes to my creative life, and maybe other parts of my life as well. But and I find that exciting to reach as far as I can, and I fail a lot. I mean, people from the outside in, it's easy to look at public-facing people and only see. Well, sometimes you don't only see their successes, but oftentimes we look at their successes. We see the peaks and not the valleys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard somebody say, well, you better figure out the valleys because the peaks take care of themselves. And I do think there's some truth to that. And certainly it's in the valleys and it's in the climb that you find and learn the most from experience.
Yeah, you can learn a lot from taking an L sometimes.
Yeah.
You've shared that Requiem for a Dream was a movie that changed your career trajectory, and it also left a lasting impact, you said, on your personality. What about that particular film makes it stand out from the rest?
Well, Requiem for a Dream was just a pivotal time in my life. It was an experience that I had that I'll never forget. I worked with just an incredible cast and an amazing director who is a good friend of mine to this day. And, I think it was a chance for me to dive really deep and see what I was capable of. And, I worked with this incredibly talented group of people, and we all just shared a journey that was really special. It's one of a kind.
You mentioned diving deep, and you really do that with your characters. Is that part of the reason that you have had so much acclaim and success?
I don't know. I'm just attracted to certain characters and certain types of material. And, like I said, I don't really know the answer to that
But
question,
it's
Dwight.
such an immersive approach that you take. You really put I mean, it's legendary when people talk about what you do to get ready for a role. Um, let's switch it then. What project has been the most challenging for you through that process to date then?
I like a good challenge. I'm not afraid of a little failure. I like to push myself. I love transformation. I love transformative experiences. And I'm just a big believer in that stupid cliche, without great risk, there isn't great reward. So, no pain, no gain, which always reminds me of skiing. I don't know why that is. I don't ski too much, but I remember as a kid seeing like no pain, no gain. It was like some t-shirt you see on the ski slopes.
But
Uh,
is that why you're a rock climber then? You don't ski, but I mean, how do you relax
I
with rock
used I
climbing?
s- used to snowboard, but I love the rock climb. And of course, you can draw comparisons from climbs to life and ambition and creativity all day long. It's like the perfect metaphor for anything, really. But like climbing, I love climbing because it really compels you to be in the moment. You're constantly problem solving. I call it the chess of sports.
One
And some
wrong
people don't
move and
call it
you're in trouble.
sport. Yeah, one wrong move and you're in trouble. Yes, literally. And I know I've been close to the edge many times, but I love it because you're compelled into the moment, and you have to use everything that you've got sometimes to survive.
Let's switch it up a bit. You're also known for your philanthropy. You're also an advocate for causes. Do you consider that an important part of your innovation and your growth as a human being?
Well, I don't consider being active in causes to be, it's not a requirement, for you. It's just like you could do whatever the hell you want. For me, I think my mother was a nurse for 20 something years. And, I saw her consistently being of service. So I always think if you can be of service, it's a wonderful thing. Um, and I also, as a kid, lived in Haiti for a very short time, but it was a pivotal time for me in my life. And we were supporting a nonprofit working at a clinic there. So I guess that probably had something to do with, how I see the world. Uh, yeah,
And I know that you helped out in Haiti after the earthquake.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
let's talk about technology. It's really changed our world over the last decades. In your opinion, has technology largely helped or hindered innovation in the arts?
Well, I think technology has been incredible. I'd love to hear an argument that against, but it's been incredible for artists. Really, really, it's allowed creators to speak directly to their audiences for the first time, maybe ever. And, being able to cut out the middleman in many different areas and that stack has been incredible and powerful. So I think technology has been a huge asset. I mean, you look at the way that that artists are able to distribute content, whether it's a song, whether it's a piece of video, music video, whatever it is, even a photograph, just to reach your audience around the world, to talk to your fans, your supporters, the believers, that's a real huge gift. I mean, it used to be quite difficult to do that. And I think that technology it's made things cheaper and easier than ever before to create music specifically, and then to distribute that music. So I think that's been a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. Especially in music, it really has gotten rid of the gatekeepers and made it more democratic, that people can just get their art out, and we get to choose what we like. You've worked on everything from major motion pictures to independent or experimental projects. Are there similarities or differences in your approach depending on the size of the project? Something from Morbus to Mr. Nobody, they're so different, right?
I think the process can be quite different from film to film, but the process of creating a character is pretty consistent. You always learn something new, and I'm always surprised. There's information from Morbius to the Gucci movie that I just finished. They're just they're worlds apart in terms of character, in terms of personality, and the backgrounds of the people, and the time period, and the subject matter. So I love it because you're learning a lot. And for me, the most exciting part about making a movie is the preparation. That's what I love the most.
The lead up to it. Have you ever got to the point though where you just thought, man, I've lost so much weight for this role, or I've gained so much weight for this role? Is it ever taxing physically on you? Because when you watch the movies, sometimes you kind of feel that,
Absolutely. Yeah. I count down the days sometimes, but it's also exciting. Yeah. So you have that balance. You have, it can be taxing, you can be worn out, you can be at the edge and ready to just throw in the towel, but it's also incredibly exciting when you make that kind of commitment.
Yeah, and it's worth it for us as viewers. What is one area of passion that people may not expect from Jared Leto, other than rock climbing?
Other than rock climbing and music and acting, what would surprise people? Well, I love, I do a lot of investing, but we can talk about that another time because it's quite a big conversation.
We'll take stock tips.
I love ultimate fighting.
Oh, okay. So you're...
People wouldn't, I don't think they would think that probably, but I like ultimate fighting.
Well, we did see you at Fight Club, and I do see you online, like breaking up that heavy bag, like you know what you're doing. So,
oh yeah,
is that how you train? Is that your workout regimen?
Well, that's the secret about that video is I was barely touching the bag, so.
Is that why? Because slow-mo, you look like you stopped that bag pretty good.
That's the pleasure. I guess the benefits of slow motion is we can fool everybody.
We're coming close to the end of this segment. Let's finish off with a couple of questions here like this. Can you share one philosophy that Jared Leto lives by?
One philosophy that I live by is. I guess it's kind of a theme, and we keep talking about it.
Yes.
But I'm a big fan of cliches because they're true, and I think there's a lot of medicine there. But we talked about risk and reward. We talked about failure and fear, and for me, hard work pays. Hard work pays off. It's, I always go back to that. I look at other people sometimes, as we all do, and, I'm blown away by their talents and abilities, the gifts that they have and what they share with the world. And, and I've met a lot of really pretty brilliant people. And the common trait that I've seen in most of the people that I admire greatly is they're willing to dig in and work incredibly hard. And I'm a big believer in that.
You know, you have this two sides of the brain thing. Not everybody can pull off both, having the rock star and the movie star career. What is it about Jared Leto that helped you to find so much success in both those worlds?
I just have a lot of energy.
Is that what it is?
I don't mind sacrificing a little of my time for other pursuits. And I'm pretty good at time management. We've gotten better and better at that over the years, and that's a real important thing to me, is spending my time really wisely. And you know, I think probably, you know, there might be a perception just of artists in general that we spend a lot of time, you know, celebrating life, which is great to do, and I don't knock that at all. But I don't actually spend too much time celebrating. I spend most of my time digging in and working.
And creating.
That's what I do. Yeah, I love to be productive. I'd much rather write a song than, you know, go to dinner or show up at a party.
Well, we appreciate that, because it's some pretty incredible art that you are putting
Thanks so much.
out in the world. Let's finish up with this final question. What is Jared Leto's proudest achievement then? I mean, we all have our favorite films that you did. We have your favorite songs from your albums. But what's your proudest?
You know, it's a really good question, Dwight. I don't ever really sit around and ruminate on my accomplishments, or I don't really visit that territory too much. You know, I have a lot of gratitude, and I'm grateful for quite a lot in my life. And, you know, I'm grateful that I got to buy my mother a house. That's a nice thing to be able to have done. And I'm grateful every time I walk into a stage around the world, and my brother and I are putting on a 30 Seconds to Mars show. Every single concert I have a moment that hits me where I look out at an arena or a festival we're playing, and I'm struck with gratitude. And I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
When we see you on the stage in those packed auditoriums, it just seems like you're so in your element, and you're enjoying it so much. But we don't get to see you when you're doing the work on the films, right? Do you feel that the same passion for both? Is it strong, that pull from both areas?
It's different. It's really different. I mean, you know, like I said before, it's still, you're channeling that creative energy, but you know, when you're standing on stage, you just have that immediate connection with the audience. I always think about it. It's like my brother, me, and the audience. It's the kind of trifecta that make it what it is, and you don't have that on a film set. So it's even more important to listen to that voice that I was talking about earlier. And I don't know, it's hard to beat standing on that stage, you know. I don't like to compare them. They're very different experiences, but it's hard to beat standing on that stage. Madison Square Garden right down the street. I mean, it was 2018 was the last time we played in New York. I think it was 18, maybe 19, but it may be one of the best shows of our lives. And it's really special to climb that mountain.
Well, you've been in the music, immersed in it for a while now. I'm sure the movie fans are hoping that you may come back to the movie side a little bit now and give us films. And I know you have some in the works, and
yep,
everybody's pretty excited about that Marvel movie. So I know we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. Morbius. I think it comes out January 28th now. So.
Jared, thank you so much for being a part of the Audi Innovation Series. You know, we've had a lot of incredible people take part in this series, but nobody that has kind of rocked it on the rock and roll side and then knocked it out of the park on the movie side. It's a real interesting, you know, they said you can't be a math and an English major, but you seem to have both sides of your brain able to create and just create some incredible art to put out into the world. So we appreciate you and thank you for your time today, sir.
Thanks, Dwight. I'm just a rock climber trying to get by. See you soon. Bye.
All right.